So these ones are a little bit harder. There's a couple of ways that you can do a patch. There's the iron-on ones, and I'm not a huge fan of them because they're usually not the right fabric for what you're doing. You can get denim ones, they're not the right color or style for what you're doing, but they are an easy fix where you can actually just iron them on, cut them to the size, iron them onto the spot, and then away you go.
Sure.
But I think the easier fix, and the one that's actually going to last a little bit longer, is sewing a patch in.
And a little funner too.
It's a little fun
Yeah.
because you're going to put your own style to it. You might have an old, like this came from an old flannel shirt. You might have something else. Maybe you took a piece of the t-shirt
Yeah.
and you're going to bring it back over here. Or you have another pair of old jeans sitting around. I personally, I don't care what happens to the jeans. I will never throw a pair of jeans out because even if they're beyond my use, I can use them in something else.
Right, of course.
So we see we have this hole here, and we're going to just take a look at, depends on what you like. So sometimes, obviously this is in style now, we might keep it like this. But if you don't want to, or you want to patch those holes, it's getting close to winter, you don't want holes in your knees right now because you're going to get cold, you'll want to fix this, and you use before you want it will have all those frays. You know how it's like on your knees, it'll have all that kind of fraying. You might want to cut all that out first and kind of make a nice clean hole. To do that, you kind of want fabric scissors or very sharp scissors, which is and don't use your fabric scissors on anything else. That's like the sewist code,
Golden rule.
That's the golden rule. Like, people will hunt you if you have used your scissors for any other reason. Now, you can either put the patch, you can kind of measure it, and you can put it right over top, and we could sew it that way. Today we're going to put it underneath. So I'm just going to kind of measure that, just looking at it. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller and I'm going to keep it square because I want to kind of go into a square when I'm sewing it on. And we're going to make it so it looks like a really nice cool stitch on it as well. So we're going to bring our clothing inside out, or inside out, I guess. And because it's on a pant leg, if you were doing this on a shirt or something, you wouldn't have to pay attention quite as much to make sure you don't want to sew the back to the front and then it's not going to be any good. Then you might as well make it into a bag. We're going to take our pins, and we're just going to pin on each side here, if I can get a hold of it. It's hard when you only got one hand going. Thinking I'm all good and do things without looking, and then miss my spot every time. So we're going to pin each spot, and this is just holding that patch into place for us to sew it. And you could sew it here, but you can't see your hole now. So we're going to put that right side out again. So you can kind of see already how that's going to look on the pair of pants. We want to stitch it kind of around the hole, or you can stitch it in a square depending on what you're doing. Oops. We're going to start the same thing with the thread again, where we're going to double it, knot it at the bottom. I have a nice contrasting thread here to make it look really cute, and I don't know if my son's going to like it or not. We'll see. He gets very picky about his clothing. And we're going to start from the inside. We don't want to see that knot.
Of course.
And then we're going to bring it through. And this is just a basic back and forth stitch. So you're going to bring it through. You're going to go down a little bit further than where you started and bring it back down. Now this is the tricky part. When you bring it back up, you want to kind of try to hit right beside that where you just went down, so that you're not really leaving any kind of gap. So we're going to go up and down. See how fast I can do this. until our patch is in place. And again, this doesn't have to be fancy, and it's my opinion, actually, when it comes to hand stitching things. If your go-to is to hand stitch, and for people who sew on a regular basis as well, the nice thing about a hand stitch is that it's not perfect, and it has its own character.
Yeah.
And it kind of can have its own kind of
Adds
life.
personality.
It adds
Yeah.
personality, and you already got the hole here. You're already adding a patch, so why not have some personality in the stitch that you're adding to that as well?
Absolutely.
Like you can go with your own color thread. This is where you can be creative and be outside the norm, because what are most people going to do? They're either going to leave the hole there, or they're going to
Go buy a new pair.
go buy a new pair of
Yeah.
jeans. And I know we're all struggling a little bit right now, and buying a new, even from a cheap place, a new $40 or $50 pair of jeans is not really feasible all
Right,
the time.
absolutely.
And especially when you have kids, you can't go out and buy them jeans all the time, because
No.
you will send them out the first day and the next day they'll come back and they will have a hole in
That
their
is
jeans.
very true.
But my son, because he's grown up with me, loves getting all these personal
that's
touches to
awesome.
his clothing. Because it just makes him a little bit different than everybody else in
That's
his
right.
class. And then he goes to class to say, look what my mom did to my clothes. Look at this.
Absolutely. I love that.
This is literally something anybody can do. This takes, to me, hand sewing takes no talent whatsoever. You just have to go up and down, and it's the same thing with same as the button. All we did was go up and down.
Right.
With that whip stitch, essentially we're going round to ground. And this is what a sewing machine would do too. It just puts your stitches closer together and makes it a little bit more secure. But
Not everybody has access
not everybody
to a
has
sewing
access
machine.
to a sewing machine, nor do they want to. But I think having a sewing kit on hand, you could have one, in my opinion, you have one at home that has all your stuff in it. And you should have one in your, like in your car or in your purse or in your backpack or something, so that you can, anything that happens,
never
you can just
know,
fix it.
yeah.
Because even, you have a backpack and all of a sudden your strap will just come apart, or all of a sudden the zipper breaks or something, and it's just everything's hanging open, and you just need something quickly to just close it until you can get home.
Absolutely.
So there we go. At the end of this, we're going to go back. I'm not going to knot it yet because I can't see where I'm knotting it from. I'm going to put it very carefully because we have needles with pins in there that have very sharp ends. We're going to go back in here. We're going to find our last couple of stitches, and we're going to do the same thing with the knot that we did with the last two. And we're going to just do this kind of nice double knot thing again. And if you get this is me, I'm a loopy person.
That does happen.
That does happen, and that happens too. Then what I do is just cut that little excess, and then I just knot it.
So if that happens,
that.
not all is lost.
Not all is lost.
Yeah.
If you have a little bit of thread left, then you can still just knot it like
Right.
this. Depending on the size of your patch, you might want to cut some of the excess off. I'm going to leave that for now on the inside, and we can see how that washes. So if I'm putting a piece of fabric on there that's new, and I don't know like how it's going to shrink or anything in the wash, I might not cut that off yet in case when I put it in the wash something goes wonky. Then I still have that little piece of
Sure.
extra fabric to fix it a little bit better maybe afterwards.
That's a great tip.
So we'll bring this right side out, and then we have our cute little
Super cute.
patch.